Tell us about how you got started. What was the problem you were solving? What didn't work? What can we learn from that? Welcome to Guest Pace. Welcome to Guest Pace. I have a really special guest that I'm really excited to introduce you all to today because he has a fantastic story. This is Pete Cooper from the run coaching app called Coopah. Pete, welcome. I'll let you introduce yourself too.
Thank you for having me, Matt. So I'm Pete Cooper and I'm the founder of Coopah, the run coaching app. It is spelt differently to my surname, if you're wondering. It's the two co-founders' names coming together. And as you can tell, probably already, I'm a Brit, but please do bear with us.
I think it's engaging to hear your accent, Pete. Just roll with it. So you started this run coaching app. How many years ago now? Take us back in time.
Yeah, so we actually launched Coopah in January 2022. But Coopah actually was born well before that. It was born as a mental health run club in 2019. So we've kind of had the brand Coopah now for 6 years, which feels crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure that's absolutely wild. And this wasn't just, a business proposition necessarily. You were, and this is why I'm so drawn to your story. You were very inspired and it's very close to your heart to get people to run. And so I wanted to bring that story out because that sort of that meaningful brand story is just so important and so valuable to drive, your passion behind the product. Have you always been a runner?
I haven't always been a runner. I started playing my kind of sporting career playing a very British sport called cricket, where we go out and we all dress in white. It's so we can see the ball, which is red. I was actually in some batting cages last night over here in the US, and it's a very different swing, but yes. I was struggling to see the ball because of the colours. And then I also played a lot of soccer as well.
Of course. So you picked up running later in life. Was that during university or after university?
It was actually when I was 16. So I obviously ran at school, the track and cross country, but I was never very good. And I was always focused on my two main sports. But at 16, I guess I really realized I wasn't going to become a professional cricket or soccer player. And I watched my mum run an event and I was like, wow, this is awesome. I want to do it.
Yeah, that's great. There's that energy is very contagious, isn't it? And just really draws people in. Sort of like being on the football or soccer pitch, right? With everyone hollering at you.
Definitely. And that's what I feel. It's I realized that the marathon I watched my mum at was Boston, USA.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a bit hang on a minute. There's 1 million people shouting my mum's name here. They don't know who she is, but they're shouting at her. And that must be what it's like. I'm in Chicago at the moment. And so that must be what it's like to play at Soldier Field. Literally just have people screaming your name. But then I think the coolest thing is the whole experience is the same as the elite runners. So you're running the same course, which is the stadium. You're getting the same medal, which is the prize. And I just had this love for running the minute I saw that. And I guess that's always been with me from then.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So was your mom was always a runner? Was that her thing she did socially or, to stay fit or what have you?
She wasn't actually. She was, to begin with, she was a really good horse rider. She met my dad, who was a race jockey. So it was funny that the conference was in Kentucky because it was my dad was a jockey. And then they met at Pony Club. And then she used to take retired race horses and turn them into 3-day event horses. So they do the dressage, the show jumping and the cross country. But she then kind of fell out of love with it. She used to get injured quite a lot from the bucking and she took up running and she was really good at it. And she went on to be a Boston qualifier. She ran Team GB age group stuff. And she had a very hidden talent that she didn't discover till she was about 40 years old.
Wow, that's amazing. Running's so cool like that, right? You can just kind of discover this is something you really love. And that's more difficult to do with other ball sports and things.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I guess Coopah was sort of born out of more or less a tragic event, right? That happened to you and your family. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so you've probably heard the kind of passion when I talk about my mum. That's because she really was my kind of running inspiration. I don't know where I'd be now if I didn't have running, because I probably wouldn't have wanted to play those sports socially, because it always brings back, but what if I tried a bit harder? What if I, was that little bit faster? What if I went to that extra training session? So my mum sadly passed away from a heart attack. Well, it's coming up to nine years this March now. And she ran a half marathon PB. And at the end, she collapsed. And then it turned out that she basically had a heart condition, which led to a heart attack. And she was in ICU on life support for two weeks. And then we basically had to make the sad decision to turn off her life support. So I was I was 23, and I'd just come out of uni, moved to London. And my mum always joked with me and was like, you're either going to do really well or you're going to end up on the streets, because you keep gambling at everything. And at that point, I kind of thought, maybe I am going to end up in the streets now. Like, I'm in this big city. How do I attack it? I have no one to call. Like, my mum was my kind of rock. She'd advise me what to do. And I was like, right, I need to go and make a way for myself now in the big city. And sadly, I didn't. I drank way too much, and I was really depressed. And then at the same time, I went and ran a marathon with my best friend. We went over to the Netherlands and ran Rotterdam Marathon, which is a great alternative if you can't get into Amsterdam. And it turned out he ran that and he died from a brain tumor shortly after. So by this point, I'd ran 2 marathons, and both of the people I'd ran alongside had died. And I then blamed myself for that. So I have really bad OCD, and I basically lived with for the next 18 months, and I never told anybody this, that I thought I'd killed my mum and best friend, and my brain was telling me that every morning, and it was saying, the police are going to come and get you. You're going to go to jail. You've murdered them. And obviously I didn't, hence why I'm here now. But that was just how my OCD worked. And then long story short, it got too much and I went to end it all. And luckily for me, I didn't. And now I'm kind of building this run coaching app, which is kind of all been built from to kind of just honour my mum and say that running really did save my life.
That's unbelievable, Pete. Give me a sense of the time frame between when your mom passed and your friend, and when you having trouble in the city. Was this over the course of a year, 2 years, or 6 months?
My mum died in March, the beginning of March 2016, and then I came back to London a few weeks after it. And my family aren't like a loving family at all, so there wasn't much support for me. And then my best friend died in August 2016. So from March to August, which is what March, April, May, June,
5
July,
months.
6 months. 5-6 months.
Yeah.
And then, at that point, I was also traveling a lot for work. So I just never really got to, I guess, let everything the grief process it in and process it. And then it was around the end of 2018 where it got way too much for me. And then in 2019, my therapist kind of said to me, you need to run, like you really need to run. And I didn't just start running. I ran away from London and I moved to Hong Kong.
Oh, wow. So were you running throughout all of this, or had you stopped running because it probably was really traumatic to run at all because you associated so much with the experience you just had?
Yeah, so I actually did stop running. But the reason why I stopped running mainly was because my dad called me one day and he said, I've met the doctor in town and they think actually you need to go and get your heart checked because the fact your granddad and mum died at 60 from a heart attack, it could be inherited. And I went to do all these tests, and it turned out that there's a chance that I have a thing called ARVC, which is where the right side of your heart is enlarged and it struggles to pump enough blood to your heart. I think I kind of switch off when the doctor tells me, because I don't want to believe I've got it. He said to me, you can't do any more exercise. Like this could lead to a heart attack. And in the end, I about 2 years on from that, I said to him, hang on, if I don't run, I'm going to kill myself. So what is the chances of me actually dying? And he said, it's like being hit by a car. He said, the chances of you dying from this will be like getting hit by a car, especially now whilst you're young. And my therapist just said, you need to run. So that's when I started running. And I entered the New York Marathon because my mum was on the mission to do the 6 majors.
Yeah.
So she had New York, Tokyo, and Chicago left. So I entered New York Marathon and started to train for New York Marathon, which I did in 2018.
Amazing. So you sort of picked up where she left off to heal yourself and sort of live out her legacy.
Definitely, yeah. And I actually got my 6-star medal last year in Boston.
Amazing.
In 2024. So I still had to go and do all 6, sadly. They wouldn't let me off.
Amazing. Running sort of has that way of helping you mentally just focus and feel a bit grounded during stressful or traumatic times, doesn't it? And I know I work a lot in the ultra and trail world, and we see so many people coming from, drug addiction or what have you. And it just kind of really helps people to find their way, doesn't it? Somehow it's sort of magical like that.
It's beautiful. Yeah. I watched the documentary on Skid Row, where he takes the people around the world to run marathons, and it's just amazing. I don't think there's many other sports that allow you to do that. And I think it's because it is so accessible. Like, I've packed my trainers on this trip, and that's all I need, one pair of trainers and a few shirts and shorts, and I can go out wherever. Yeah,
absolutely. Wow. So out of this experience, Coopah was born, but sort of before that, I think you started to try to find your place within the running world, right? And you were searching through run clubs and worked with some, trainers and coaches and things like that. Tell me about that experience that kind of also led up to Coopah.
Definitely. So when I moved to Hong Kong, I was very much like, right, to meet friends, I need to join some sports clubs. So I started playing cricket again, but I knew I needed to run because I'd actually, then I was running Chicago in 2019. Yeah. So I went and joined an athletics club, and I just felt it wasn't really what I was looking for. And athletics clubs are amazing for going fast and, trying to be the front of the pack kind of guy. But actually for me, running was more my escape. I've got a full-time busy job, and I needed to run and just meet people and smile and have that release. So I went and set up my own run club, which was a mental health run club. I actually at the time didn't call it a mental health run club because I was worried no one would turn up. I called it a run club where you can come and talk, and if you've got any struggles, you can just chat, and you can run as far or as little as you want. And 74 people turned up on the first day.
Wow.
I now have one of the biggest run clubs in the city. This is crazy. And everyone was there. I don't know whether they were there to support me, whether they were there because they just were like, let's get active, whether the expat type of life is, let's just be busy. But I realized there was a big gap, and run clubs want a big thing in 2019. Like now I look in Chicago for some run clubs I can go to, and there's a list of the top 20, not even 20, the top 20.
Right.
And it's incredible because this is what the running community needs. We need run clubs for everyone. So there's a run club for everyone to feel like they belong, which I love. But then as I got more into it and these people became my friends, I said, let's all go and run an event. Like I'm running Chicago, let's train. You could go and run Singapore or something like that. And I'd look on their Strava and I'd say, Jim, why aren't you running? Like, you're not going to finish a marathon if you don't run. All you're doing is running on Wednesday night with me at our run club. Yeah. And they were like, I can't train. I honestly don't know how to train. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting because I hate training. I absolutely hate like the fact that
Yeah.
I've got a book that I've got to write all my workouts in, or I've got to look at a PDF plan. And I started to look into it, and I was like, as I was getting more and more passionate about runnings for everybody, I quickly realized that there were these people who didn't run anymore because they'd maybe ran multiple marathons, but they took 5 hours to run a marathon. And every time they went to download their training plan, they were having to download the beginner plan. And they were like, I'm shit. Like I shouldn't run. I'm not a runner. I'll stop running. And I said to a small group of people, about 50 people, I said, look, at this point, I just got made redundant from Expedia, who's a travel company, and it was during COVID, so it was kind of always going to happen. And I got a little bit of money, and I said, look, if I go away and build a minimum viable product here, will you use it free of charge? And you have to promise me you'll tell me if it's shit or not. Excuse the French. And they said, yeah. They said, like, let's help you. So with that, I kind of set on this kind of vision of how do I bring the medicine of running to everyone? And I set up a mission of I want to guide 1 million people to make running a habit. And I remember telling someone that on a podcast in like 2022 as we launched it, and they were like, that is big goals. And now we're 10% of the way there. We've just had 100,000 views there, and it's like, okay, there was a gap here for this. And that's kind of how the Run Coach was born. But I'll never forget, sorry, I'm chatting a lot. I like to talk.
No, this is great.
I'll never forget, I said to my friend, Paul Henry, who's the PAH in Coopah, he was the one who was really saying, Pete, you need to make this like, your mum would be so proud. He came to watch me at New York. He ran Chicago with me. Yeah. And he said, I can't be the person who goes on this journey with you. But I'll help you the whole way. But you have a brand now, like Coopah is a brand. You need to go and find a co-founder. So we put a job out on workinstartups.com, and hundreds of people applied, and they all applied and said, running's not cool at the moment. Like, we need to deliver some cool brands. And I'm so glad I didn't go down there, because the amount of cool running apparel brands now, they're everywhere. Like, you see all these cool run brands everywhere. But this one guy called Dan Strang joined the call, and he had a whole presentation, and the first slide said 58% of people stop running in 30 days. Yeah. And I went, if we can reduce that number, we can reduce the mental health pandemic, because I believe so strongly that running saved my life. Yeah. And then he presented to me why training was broken, and he just kind of openly told me everything that I had in my mind. I was too scared to challenge. And he said, let's go and build it. And I was like, I've got this money for this MVP. And he was like, look, I'm still in a job, but if we can hit these targets, I'll quit my job in January 2022, and we'll go full time. And in January 2022, we paid ourselves next to nothing. It was basically enough to put food on the table. And we quit our jobs, and now we're in 2025, and I'm sat in a hotel room in Chicago trying to grow the app here in the US.
That is wild. So what started with probably a bit of a foggy idea initially, right? In your mind, did you envision an app like to begin with, or did you more have this idea to get more people running, and you weren't really sure how that would actually show up then in the world?
Yeah, I think I envisioned a Coopah mental health run club in every city in the world. Is what I envisioned. And I have a text from Paul where he said, but imagine if we could bring the energy you bring to your run club into a virtual community through an app, and we could get people running every day. Because I kept going, the problem is there's only one of me, and I can only turn up one night a week. And I've still got that text where he says, it needs to be training. And then when Dan joined it, and it was literally a day later, Dan presented that. So it was I never saw that. I just presumed I was a bit of a weirdo who struggled with training.
Sure. Yeah. Wow. So once you saw his presentation, it sort of just like brought it all to life, and all these maybe sort of foggy ideas and goals you had in your head. It just was like, this is it. It's through training. And it's sort of the scaling of it, isn't it? Versus having a private coach or, or in-person run clubs where you said, of course can't be everywhere.
Definitely. And that's the thing. It's so easy to scale that with the right partners and the right people. That's been my biggest learning is you have to work with the right people, and you have to work with people who also kind of share that passion and belief. Because if you work with, say, an event partner, and I can talk a little bit more about how we got going in the UK, but if you work with, say, an event partner, they want people to enjoy their experience.
Yeah.
You will only enjoy their experience if you train well, because if you get to 10 miles of a half or 18 miles of a marathon, you remember those last 3 or 8 miles because you're going, I hate this. So then you tell all your friends, don't run a marathon, it's awful. Whereas actually what you want is people to love it and go, I think I could have run a bit faster. I'm going to do another one. And then that's great for the event space because the events grow. And that's kind of what we've seen in the UK.
Yeah, that's wild. So the name Coopah, you kind of touched on it a few times, but it's sort of a mashup of the names of yourself and your two co-founders, right?
Yeah, it's a mashup of that. But when they were putting the name together, they wanted it to. I had no say in the name. I was like, I don't want to think of the name, and they presented it to me, and I went, no, absolutely no chance. And they went, why? And I said, it's my name, spelt differently. And then they started to explain it, and they said, look, it's the co-founders' names coming together, which it shows bringing together runners. Yeah. The 2 O's is it's community, it's 2 O's together. And Coopah is basically paying memory to your mum. So whenever we talk about the app, whenever someone sees the name, they remember the why behind the app. And I think there's so many brands out there who just go, let's get rich. Whereas we're not doing it to get rich. We're doing it to get people moving. And I always say it, I hope my mum's looking down and going, I'm proud of you, son.
Oh, I'm sure she is. And the way it took off in the UK, I'm sure makes her proud as well. So once you got together with Dan and this app came together, how did you tell us the next step from there? I love that like early journey where it's like not a thing yet, but you have to promote it and market it and get people to buy into the story and all the benefits.
Yeah, so we had around $50,000 in the bank, which was basically a mixture of money Dan and I had put in ourselves, where we went, we believe in this, let's go. Because I think that's really important, is that the founders believe in it themselves and do put the money in, because it's very easy to go and get your job elsewhere. And then, like I mentioned, I got made redundant from Expedia. So I went to the Expedia, kind of the board that I knew. It was a separate brand of Expedia. It was the business travel side. And some of them had been made redundant. And I went, will you give me $5,000? And they were like, what are you up to, Pete? And I was like, well, I don't have anything set in stone, but I can show you like a pizza back of a napkin workings out. And they were like, do you know what, Pete? Let's go for it. Like, we'll give you it. So that's how we got up to $50,000.
They believed in you. Yeah.
And I said, look, you'll probably lose your money. But like we could have a lot of fun. So I said, let's go and build the MVP. So we built the MVP with that money, which Dan did all of. He's really good at building product. Whereas for me, I was like, but we need to get people on the app. So I already had my community of people who I knew could try the app. But on top of that, we needed to get the app into hands of users. And we know that our key user would be someone training for an event. So I remember it clear as anything. I went up to the north of England and I met with an event partner. And she said to me, if you can actually build what you've shown me on the back of this napkin, I'm in. Like, this is exactly what the running community and running event space needs. Like, she was like, I spend hours on our training program. I spend hours on our website marketing it, but actually I should be out there getting revenue from sponsors. I should be out there making the event the best event experience it can be. So she said, I will be in. And Siobhan Curtis is her name. She's one of the most wonderful ladies on earth. And, I will always be thankful for her for giving me the opportunity. And I said, I'm doing it. And I remember texting Dan, and like came back to London, and I said, right, they have about 120,000 runners that do their event. If we can get 10% of them, we've got 12,000 users. And then he goes, just get the deal done. Because I'm the excitable one. And then the next thing happened was they came on board as a partner. And then we also realised that there would be other ways of doing this. So we started to just get people talking about it. So when we launched on January 2022, there's a thing in the UK. I don't know if you have it in US as well. I think you do. I think the US created it. It was called Blue Monday.
Okay.
So do you have Blue Monday?
No, I'm not familiar with it. Tell me.
So Blue Monday is meant to be the most depressing day of the year. So it's when most people stop their training, they give up their January training days. So I said, well, this plays into our brand completely. So at this point, we were really focused on zip codes. So we were like, we need to get everyone in this zip code who runs to be on the app. Yeah. So we went to the fruit shop, and I bought 1,000 bananas. So 1,000 bananas. And
I can't believe they had that many. That's wild.
They had to order them in. They had to I pre-ordered it. And the guy was like, no one's ever ordered 1,000 bananas. He was like, are you like the chef? And I was like, oh no, I work for a running program. So I ordered 1,000 bananas, and we ordered 1,000 QR codes. That said, congrats on running today. Here's 1 month free to Coopah. This could change your life. And we went out to the local park, and anyone who ran past, they got a banana with a bit of string around it and a code. And then this grew, and it grew, and it grew. And then however many we had left by lunchtime, we went and knocked on people's doors, and we said, have you been out and done any exercise today? And if they said no, we would give them a banana and say, download this app. It could change your life. And we left it at that. Anyway, long story short, the BBC News got hold of this story. And within a week of me starting the business, I was on the BBC News talking about how to get the nation moving from a mental health perspective. And that blew up. We got the record amount of downloads onto our app, a record amount of views. But the problem was our app wasn't very good. It was a minimum viable product. It didn't have a lot of things. So we went, oh, we've blown it. Like we went too big too early. But actually it was great, because then people saw that, started contacting us, and the actual event director of the TCS London Marathon downloaded the app and invited us into a meeting. And now we are the official training coaching app of the TCS London Marathon. And I still think it probably stems from those early days innovative ideas, because we had no money. We had to think of ways we could. And I think the bananas cost us about $500 to do it. And it was amazing.
That's amazing. Like the viral marketing moment that took off unexpectedly. The product wasn't ready for it. Crazy. That's sort of that was sort of like the rocket ship that helped to take off, wasn't it?
Definitely was.
Unbelievable. That's crazy. So was that your relationship with London? I mean, that's basically just as big as you could swing in the UK, wasn't it? And was this the second race then that you had partnered with?
No, by the time we actually got to doing a deal with London, it took about 18 months. I think they're so large. What people listening might not also know is they also own a lot of other events in the UK as well. So they probably own about 8 to 10 events here back in the UK. And but during all of this, we were just signing up events left, right, and centre, because I was pitching this to them, and they were going, yeah, this works. I'm not even having to sell anything to my audience. Like I'm giving them a free 2-week trial and saying, if you don't like it, you don't like it. And it doesn't matter if they like it or not, because I'm getting paid for it. So it's becoming an extra revenue stream for them. And we then just basically worked with every event partner in the UK, which was awesome.
Amazing. So you've seen then the benefits end of the race, in the events, were just the satisfaction from the runners, for the increased participation or maybe returning participation? Talk me through that if I'm like the event organizer.
Yeah, so I think there's kind of like a few things. So we work with the Welsh capital city. If anyone watches Welcome to Wrexham on documentary with Ryan Reynolds, they might know what Wales now is, but Wales is its own little country. So we work with their capital city as well. And I remember one of the race director there saying to me, my biggest fear is on event day, people not finishing and potentially people also, what happened to my mum, dying. And they said, if I know that I can give people the access to the right training and I can see how many have used it, that to me is everything. So there's things from as deep down as that, where you take that real personal touch all the way to them being able to go, we can see that people are returning year after year or people getting to the start line. So for example, last year's London Marathon, 99.76% of people who use Coopah to train for London Marathon finished the London Marathon. So you know that they finished. They're probably raising money for charity. They're probably telling their friends they had a great experience. So we use all of that kind of method to keep people on, but also you can add future races. So what you could do is you could go and enter, let's say you want to go and enter a half marathon of an event series. You can enter that half marathon and then you can go, my training's going really well, I'm going to go and enter the marathon. And then with our app, you can add the marathon into the app. So we keep you on the app because you're going, I've got a future plan and so on. So it then keeps people running as well.
Okay. And this isn't just marathons you've been working with, right? What are the events in the UK? What's sort of the spread as far as race distances?
Yeah, everything from pretty much 5K all the way to up to 100 milers.
Great.
We've got kind of all distances in there.
Yeah, great. And all abilities of runners, or is it sort of skewed more beginner runners, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so this was my biggest annoyance, which I mentioned earlier, was the beginner, intermediate, advanced plan. That, along with 16 weeks or 18 weeks or 12 weeks, they were the two things which I felt made people not run. So when you come onto the app, we don't want you to feel like, we want you to feel that the app's for you. So it doesn't matter if you want to take 2 hours in a marathon or 10 hours in a marathon, we will still give you the plan. So the majority of our runners are more towards the beginner side, and heavily female. About 68% of our runners are female, but it is for anybody. So I think our fastest ever marathon time on the app is around 2 hours 30. And the longest, which I say they got the most time for their money, is around 8 hours 45. So we've kind of proven out that you can get faster or finish a marathon or a half or a 5K on the app. So it really is for everybody.
Yeah, that's great. And so the app experience is really adaptable for different abilities. What is that? I haven't been on the app. Tell me what that experience looks like. What different, functions, features, ways does it work with different runners?
So I think the best feature on the app that I love is the ability to chat to a real human on the app. So you have a 24/7 chat with coach function, and on that chat to coach function, you have people in Australia, London and America to manage the time zone differences. And what I really love is that if you've had a bad day, you can message the coach and say, I've had a long day, I don't feel like running. And they can go, move the plan around. So I'll walk you through kind of how the plan looks, but you would come onto the app and you would type in the event that you're training for. So let's say you're training for, Detroit Marathon in October. You come on, you put in Detroit Marathon. We would then ask you a range of questions, and then based on your ability, we would decide, should you start your marathon plan now? Should you do a 5K build up? Should you go and do a half marathon at race pace? And then we will tell you what you should start your plan like. We will then ask you things like, how many days a week do you want to train? What days of the week do you want to do your long run, your short tempo runs? And then that will create a personalized plan based on you. And then you're able to change each week. So I think it's really important that flexibility is key. What we're
Yeah.
noticing is runners want to be told what to do, but they don't want to be told when to do it. So you can literally go on the app and drag and drop. So this week, for example, I know I'm in the US, so I know it's going to be hard for me to get my speed sessions in. So I'm able to drag and drop my runs into when I know I'm back in the UK. So that's kind of how it works. And then you sync it up to your smartwatch, your Garmin, or you can record on device, and then it will pace you as you run. So you don't need to write any more plans down, put it into Garmin, click go, then re-upload it and write it back down how you did. It literally, it goes, do you want to do this workout? Let's say it's the Chicago and it's 10 times 400 meters. I want to do that. Let's go. And then off you go. You start running and it will tell you stop, Matt, go faster, Matt, go slower. And then it will tell you how you performed at the end. And then the plan will adapt based on how you're performing. So if you're getting faster, the plan will give you faster runs. If you're getting slower, it will get you slower runs. We don't tell you because we don't want to knock your confidence, but it will adapt based on how you're performing.
Wow, that's awesome. That's like so adaptable and personalized. So you're in the States right now. Tell me about that journey. You were in Louisville at the run show.
Yeah, so it's called Lowville, is how you pronounce it.
I know. So I live in Louisville, Colorado, and I lived in Cincinnati years ago, and so I'm very familiar with the Lowville pronunciation. But in Colorado here, we pronounce it Louisville, so that sort of just rolls off my tongue.
I'm happy you said that because I'd been walking around for months being like, I'm going to Louisville, and then the first day I was like, I've never been to Louisville, and everyone was like. And then at the first day of the conference, someone went, so welcome to Lowville. And I was like,
Lowville. Yeah, it's an odd sound effect. Right.
So, we noticed that there was the Run in USA conference going on here this week. And we realized that if we want to go in the US, we want to work with event partners. We care about working with good people, and event partners put on such amazing experiences, and they deserve to be paid. They deserve to be paid what they're worth as well. And actually training can be an extra revenue. And what I've learned here is that a lot of people actually are like the UK doing their own training plans themselves, and it takes up a lot of their time. So we actually really believe training can be an extra revenue. So we came out here and tried to meet with as many event partners as we could, and also influential people in the market. And what I really wanted to do was just learn about the US market. It wasn't for me to necessarily sell. It was, I need to know what the US market was like. So I wanted to meet as many people as possible and listen and get a gauge of what's the difficulties, what's good, and how could we actually support them, because we really believe in partnerships over sponsorships. And I think training can go really nicely hand in hand. And it's been absolutely awesome. The running community in the US is a beautiful space with beautiful people. And people's been really open to talking to this Brit from over the pond.
Yeah, that's amazing. How was the show? You met a lot of people? Is it well attended? I've never been to that show before.
I think they said there was 629 people there, which is a lot of people. But it really was awesome. It was some really interesting kind of breakout sessions, some interesting talks. And I think it's just, you sit and you go, when else can you get 629 people from the running industry in one room? So it was really cool. There was a 5K shakeout run on the Monday, and I was like, that's cool. Like, I'll go along. I'll be able to chat to people. And then I got there, and it was like an event. There was like a bibs. There was a chip time. There was sang the national anthem before it. There was mile markers, and I kind of went, do I need to race this now? Do I take it easy? And in the end, I took it easy. And I looked at the times, and people were doing like 18-minute 5Ks. And I was like, wow, like people probably race this, I think.
Absolutely. Is that where I saw on social you were running with my friend Mary Arnold? Is that what that run was?
She's awesome, isn't she? Yeah.
She's fantastic. Yeah.
We went on the Sunday morning to Movement, which is like a place to find events. And we went to their shakeout run, and that was really nice. There was a good amount of people there, but there was enough there so you could have real good conversations with everyone. And I met Mary, and we just hit it off straight away. And I got to run with Mary, and then I spent a lot of the conference with her as well. And she's doing awesome things.
Oh, great. That's so awesome. So you're sort of getting entrenched in the US running community. Definitely meeting some of the players, that's for sure. Is
Definitely.
this is sort of is this your first trip to the States in like Coopah capacity?
It is. It's
Okay,
the
great.
first, I guess you could say Boston, kind of, because of our London
Yeah.
Marathon link up. I got invited to some parties and stuff, but
Okay. Okay.
this is definitely our first ever trip where it's like
Great.
full focus, full send. And I think I'll be coming back a lot. So I'm a little bit worried about telling my wife that I'm going to be spending a lot more time here. Like, I think there's definitely a huge opportunity here for Cooper. And
Yeah.
I guess the next steps is employees in office. Although we do work remote first, so we already have employees in the US from the coaching side, but
Okay.
also coming and running their events. Like, I want to come to the events that these event partners are doing, because there's no better way to see an event than running it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Does it feel like a pinch me moment from where you were years ago?
Yeah, I actually texted my friend this morning who said, I'm really proud of you, Pete. And I actually replied and I said, for the first time ever, I'm proud of myself. And I've been having a lot of therapy about a lot of things. And one of the things is being in the moment. I think I always want to do that next big thing. And actually now I'm sat here and I'm like, no, this is super cool. Like, this is a pinch me moment. And it's like, be present, Pete, like be present. And it was also I got quite emotional this morning because I was like, my therapy's really been working because I can now be present. Like, I was having amazing meetings and I wasn't sat on my phone like I used to be thinking about what's going on in other departments of the business. And I think that's been a real nice moment to actually go. And it is the first time since 2019 where I've kind of gone, you know what, Pete, you should be proud of yourself, because I never tell myself that.
Pete, that's incredible. You're gonna make me tear up. I think your mom would be beyond proud of where you're at and really the trajectory you're on, because who knows where you'll be even a year from now, right? It's you're really sort of you've gotten that traction and things seem to be taking off, and that is so cool because the benefit of what you're doing like you said, it may change a lot of lives.
Definitely. And that's the real reason why I do it is, like I said, I want to bring the medicine of running to everyone. And if we can make a million people to make running a habit, then we won't stop there. We'll turn it into 10, turn it into 100 million. But that is ultimately what we really want to do.
That's amazing. Is there anything else I missed from your story? Anything that we...
No, I think we've got most of it in, like the founder story, building it. And yeah, it's been hard because I'm not from a lot of money. I didn't know what an investor was. I didn't know how businesses got money, and I had to learn a lot of stuff, but I am now slowly learning. And it's been awesome.
It's a lesson in just like entrepreneurship, right? Is that there's sort of this implication that you kind of need to know all of this stuff to be successful. But if you really just have the passion and the story and that, motivation and drive, like you'll find the right people to help you. You'll learn and you'll get through it, and you can get, over the hump like you're starting to see now.
Definitely. And I always say that to people. I meet people and they're like, can you help me? I'm trying to build a business. I'm like, cool, what's your business? And they're like, I don't want to tell you because you might steal it. And I was like, trust me, I don't even have enough hours to sleep. Like, I don't have any time to go and steal your idea. And it's like, if you're not going to tell me what your idea is, how can I help you? And it's like, you just need to be vulnerable and get your product out there and launch it. And I always say, like, employ smarter people than you. Like, we've just employed Gareth Nettleton, who used to be at marketing at Strava as our CMO, and just the difference he makes. Like, you kind of just go, Gareth, what do we do here? And like, he says it and I'm like, the odd time I'll challenge him, but most of the time I'm like, cool, you know better than
of course. It would have taken me months to get to that like conclusion. Yeah,
exactly. So I think, and I always say to my team, like, make mistakes. I don't care if you make mistakes. I care if you make the same mistake over again. But if you make a mistake, we fix it. That's a good place to be. And
we
make mistakes, we learn fast. We break things and move fast, as the book says.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Pete, thank you so much for joining us and sharing an incredible story. And I can't wait to see the success you have. We'll definitely stay in touch.
Thank you so much, Matt. Thanks for having me on. It's a privilege.
How can everybody find you or find Coopah to take away from this?
So if they want to just learn more about it, they can type in coopah.com and we should come up, or they can search on the App or Google Play Store. just simply Coopah or Coopah, the run coaching app, and you can give it a download and try it. And there's also a 2-week free trial at the moment from Running USA. So if they put in RUSA2, they can they can try 2 weeks, or perhaps we can give you one after this call and you can edit this bit out.
Okay, yeah, let's start that out. We'll add something in at the beginning for listeners to give it a try as well. And you've sort of ramped up your own social, haven't you? I saw you post about how everyone was like leaning on you to be a little bit more I don't know, vocal, I guess, on your social channels.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people who meet me, they're like, Pete, you're so much fun. You need to show your energy on social media. And I'm like, no, it's so cringy. Like, I don't have time to do that. So I've made a promise to our head of brand here in the UK that I will post at least once a week on what I've done that week. So I'm being very vulnerable, and I'm saying, if things are bad, I have to tell my audience things are bad, and it's getting a lot of support. It's getting a real good amount of engagement. And we had a laugh the other day when we were looking for creators. We have this tool, and I'm actually in the top 5% of creators, whatever that means. And for my audience size, and everyone's like, Pete, look at this. And I was like, there's no chance anyone's actually listening to me. And I was like, shut up. And I thought they were taking the mick. And then I actually had to go on myself. And I was like, and again, it comes back to that, what I've been working with my therapist on. I have to be more proactive and be in the moment and actually be proud of what I'm doing. Whereas I think usually I'm just like, no one cares what I'm doing. Like, just crack on, be quiet. Whereas actually the reality is people do want to hear. I think people are inspired by people who do build a business because it's not easy.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's your handle, Pete? Is it on Instagram people can find you?
So Instagram for me, it feels weird giving this out. It's Pete Runs, Pete, and then Coopah spelled COOPER, and then RUNS. I think I need a more better name. That's pretty boring, isn't it? And then Coopah Run Coach is our Coopah profile. And the Coopah profile is all about utilizing real people stories. So I think we can easily see creator stories, but actually there's so many people doing beautiful things, and we want to really utilize our profile to tell people what amazing things people are doing on the app, and we try and keep it pretty raw on there.
Okay. Amazing, Pete. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your trip to the US, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks so much, Matt. Thanks for having me on.